Welcome. Today we'll be taking a look at Procession. So Procession is designed to fill specific needs for process manufacturing. Procession runs as part of your X3 system, and it adds hundreds of critical features to your system. Right now we are looking at Procession running in Sage X3 version 12 patch 25. So just like any X3 module, Procession can be accessed from either the Sage menu. So in this case, we're looking at Procession here under the menu. And then it can also be run from process maps. So we'll be doing most of this demo here, just running it from process maps within X3. These process maps show a typical process flow, but they can also be edited for specific needs. Procession consists of 5 different modules. There's the pre-sales formulation, quality control, manufacturing enhancements, distribution enhancements, and regulatory control. This demo will touch on a high-level overview of the software and take a few quick looks at the software itself and the use cases for Procession. So first module we'll take a look at is the pre-sales formulation module. This module is designed for use by process industries such as food and beverage, chemical, and the nutrient supplement industry. It adds certain features that enhance X3 and that are critical to X3, such as approval workflow, full audit trails of changes made to a formulation, ability to maintain the formula, estimating and quoting from the formula, lab projects, customer sample tracking and feedback, property calculations such as in the VOCs and HAPs, et cetera, for paint industry, or in the food and beverage, it may be nutrient calculations or things like allergen roll-ups. And then next we have formula tools such as the ability to compare formulas side by side, see what the differences in cost or ingredients are, and advanced search capabilities too, being able to search in different properties and calculations, not just the description of the formula. Also for the nutraceutical industry, Procession has a plugin module that can be used to print the nutrient supplement panels, and it also can calculate what those nutrient levels are. So this is a quick process view where it shows, when requests come in, we have the ability in Procession to track it. We have the ability to track it as a project or a lab project. Here's the different tools for searching menus, comparing menus. But we'll take a look here right now at the R&D formula module. So in the R&D formula module, obviously this can be used for many different industries, and we have many different examples over here, such as food and paint and chemical and pharmaceutical, et cetera. We'll take a look at one for a food manufacturer. This is a cheesecake example. So across the top, we have these different tabs that show, all the advanced functionality that's provided by Procession. We have the ability to, on the header, to track approvals or manage approvals. We can also see, we can prevent users from editing the formula if it's been locked, or we can see the whole history of changes made to this formula. Next, we have the ingredients. Ingredients, this is where we can actually set up the formula itself. We can set these formulas up to be formulated to the size of one serving for instance, in the food industry or the nutraceutical industry, or we could set up these to be sized to the actual batch size that we're going to produce in. Either way, we have the ability to set up different units for how we set up these ingredients versus what we actually publish over to production. So this is a sandbox. This allows us to come in here and put in different raw materials, including raw materials that may not exist in inventory. Like in this line here, for instance, it's a manual line, meaning it's a theoretical line. We're putting a leavener in that doesn't exist in our inventory yet, but we can still add it, put the quantity in, we can still set up costing for it. So that's going to allow us to generate an estimate or a quote from this without it having to be in inventory. By default, whenever we set up one of these and we pull in a raw material that is in inventory, it'll pull in the cost based upon whatever costing method we've set up. But we don't have to use the same costing method that we're using in the ERP. Or we can also change the costing here as well. So it being a sandbox, any changes you make to costing here does not affect the inventory costing. We can also adjust things like scrap levels. We can adjust the yields and have it recalculate our yields. And finally, it will give us totals such as what our ingredients costs are, as well as what their volume percent and weight percentage are for each line within the formula. We also have the features that will let us put in text lines and use boilerplate notes. So unlike in X3 where you have to, every line that you want to have a note on, you have to type it in. And if you ever have to change one of those, you have to change it everywhere. Here you can just put it in as a note code. Within that note code itself, it has the actual note. And if you change that note here, it will change it everywhere that note code is used. So it's boilerplate note, allows you to change in one place and affect everywhere. So moving on to the next one, we got calculations. And so in this calculations, for this particular cheesecake example, we're doing allergen roll-ups to see if there's any allergens. We haven't published this over to inventory yet, so we're doing this allergen roll-up beforehand. We can also do roll-ups of different nutrient levels. As mentioned earlier, in the paint industry, for instance, we can also use calculations to calculate things like VOCs, HAPs, etc. Next, we have specifications. This is where we can set up different QC specifications for this product. So we can actually track different versions of these specifications. So if the specifications change, we can actually create a new revision of this formula, make those changes, which gives us a complete audit history of what our specifications were over time. These specifications can then get published out to create product specifications within the system. On our hazards tab, we have the ability to calculate whatever CAS numbers or chemicals that are in use within our product. So in this case, we only had a flavoring that had ethanol. But in cases of other industries, chemical industry especially, it would be able to calculate all of the different chemicals as well as any hazard ratings and hazard categories that it had for that product. On our regulatory tab, this is where we can keep track of different documents that might have to go out and different certifications that this product has. So in this case, we've got an allergen statement, a kosher certificate, non-GMO certificate, and halal certificate. We can set the frequency for how and when they need to go out, what method they need to be delivered, either email or print. We can track when they're certified and when they need to be renewed as well. In our regulation requirements, we can actually track to see if there's any regulations that would ban us from selling a product into a certain country. On our estimating tab, this is where we can set the batch size that will be used when we publish over to manufacturing. So if our serving size was different than our batch size, the ingredients will be resized when they go to create the manufacturing bill of materials. We can also add different costs. And so this is a pretty elaborate costing. It's using not just the material cost, which is here. It also will calculate routing cost and overhead. So we can actually set up that routing cost and overhead into two sections, either routing using the typical X3 type routing, or we can set up additional costs and assign those different costs to different steps of our operations within our manufacturing. And lastly, we can also set up pricing. So we can set up different tiers, margins, and the system will go out and calculate what our sell price is, for that. We can set those pricing up, either for everyone, or we can set them up to be customer specific. When we create and generate those quotes, we can track to see who we sent those quotes out to and, when they went to the customer, et cetera. So it gives us full visibility to all of the quotes that went out for this particular formula. So with that, we're going to move on to another area of the system. We'll go to quality control and take a quick look at what quality control has to offer. So our quality control module is designed to allow us to have certain features that are not within standard X3. So these features are enhancements to the standard X3 quality control module. These features include the ability to enter receipts in or enter results in QC results prior to inventory receipt. It also provides a quick entry feature for production floors or dock environments so that it allows you to quickly enter in results on a periodic basis. We also have the ability to set up product technical sheets, customer specifications, and then finally, when we have our results posted, we can do statistical analysis or print out certificates of analysis. So in this case, we'll take a quick look at a few of these different features. So in this case, we'll look at a product technical sheet, and we'll take a look at one that we have out here for this product FG500 bulk. In this case, you can see the different questions, which, very similar to the way X3's technical sheets work. You add questions to the technical sheet. But where Procession goes a little deeper is it actually lets you change those results or those specifications on a product level. So in this case, I can change that specification on the fly without having to create a new question. And I can do that for any of these ranges. And I can even change different things such as the response types, control types, any of the defaults that came from the product can be changed. I also have the ability to set up tests that can be performed periodically. So if I only had a test that needed performed once a month or once every quarter, I can also specify how often those questions need to be performed. These product technical sheets, in this case, we're looking at one just for our production specs, can also be set up by customer. So in this case, we'll look at, this is another one for that same product, but it is a customer specific one. So what this means is that if we have customer specifications, if we go to ship a product, if it was tested and passed our production specifications, if we're shipping to this particular customer, it will then try to match those results that we got to this customer specification. So we could have tested either to this customer specification or to our production specs, but if we test to either one, when we go to ship the product, if it's out of spec for this customer, it will warn us that we should not ship to this customer. Our quick entry feature, this is again where we can just come in and quickly enter in different results on the fly. And these can be, in this case, this is a receipt, PO receipt. And on the dock, we're just entering in really quick what the results were for each sample that we pulled. It will tell us if its response is standard or non-standard, and we can track each of those results. Once the product is received in, if it goes into a queue status, these results can be used to either reject the product or to accept the product and receive it into inventory. So next, our regulatory control module. This regulatory control module allows us to track product regulations by country or regional authority. It can be used for generating safety data sheets from a formula. It can be used for GHS labeling, product certification document management, and Tier 1 and Tier 2 report calculations. So we'll take a quick look at the safety data sheets. And in this case, we'll pick that same product that we were looking at a second ago. And here we're going to be looking at one for the US and Canada that's already been generated and certified. It has in this record all 16 sections. These can be edited here if necessary, if there's any changes that need to be made to the safety data sheet, or it can just be printed out and either emailed or sent to the customer. So here's where we would print, or if we wanted to generate a GHS label from this safety data sheet, we can do that from here as well. So next, we'll take a look at our manufacturing and distribution enhancements. So just a quick overview of what those are. So for manufacturing enhancements, we have the ability on the work orders to create a batch ticket that includes hazmat type information or boilerplate note information, depending upon the industry you're in. It can also include your QC specifications. So all of that is built into our batch ticket report, which is a pretty elaborate report. Also within the work orders, we have the ability to add boilerplate notes. So again, that functionality that we discussed earlier. There's a rework work-off calculator. So if you needed to add work-off material into the work order, this calculator can be used to automatically resize that work order for you. And then finally, you can also do hazmat reporting, which GHS labeling and the hazmat information on the batch ticket can be printed from the work orders. And then finally, we have our distribution enhancements. So the distribution enhancement module, this is used for one of the main features is this bill of lading. We have the ability to create a hazmat bill of lading out of the system, which the standard X3 one is not considered a hazmat one. We also have functionality in the sales order, such as blind shipments, C of A's, SDS, being able to print regulatory documents out from either the sales order to delivery. So with that, that completes our overview of the Procession system.